John Elliott from G1 Reeds and coming to us from Kirkcaldy, Scotland on May 2nd, 2020. John, thanks a lot for taking the time to meet with us today.
No problem at all. Nice to be here, Andrew.
So 2020 for G1 Reeds marks your 10th anniversary as a reed maker. Why don't you go back and talk a little bit about how G1 came about back in 2010?
Yeah, no problem. Well, I'd been working at Shepherd Bagpipes for around 17 years, and I was quite heavily involved in the development process of the Chanters, and I was heavily involved in making reeds and Chanters and dronies and things like that. You know, it came to a point where I really wanted to develop it further without kind of any restrictions. So I'd said to Bob about that, and he was, you know, he was disappointed, but he accepted that it was maybe time for me to move on and try and do it myself. So I was honest with him, and that's when I started the business. But I didn't want to call. I didn't really know what to call it at the time. I thought of Elite Reeds, kind of a play on Elite Elliott. But then I just kind of thought that the G1 looked quite good, you know, as a set of pipes, and grade 1. I play on grade 1 as well, so that was it. That was the idea at the time.
Yeah. So 10 years, really, it's kind of a short time for a reed maker to make such a mark in the call it the bagpipe industry. Used to be that there were only a handful of reed makers. If you look back, like maybe 30 years ago, is it difficult now for a reed maker to get a foothold in the market?
It's hard for me to say that. I can only really base it on what's happened with myself and with G1. We've obviously been quite successful in doing that. What I would say is that, I think that if the product's good, and it's probably easier for the word to spread if you've got a good product nowadays than it was before, with all the social media and that's out there now. Whereas probably 40 years ago, I don't know if it was quite as easy to communicate, these good products, and probably that's maybe why there was only 2 or 3 really good ones, because they were consistently good. It's probably easier now, I would say, to establish a brand, but likewise it's also easier to kind of lose that reputation quite quickly as well through the same thing, social media. If you do something good, then everyone hears about it. But if you do something bad, it's the same but in reverse, So you can lose that just as quickly, and I think it's actually at the end of the day it's better for the customers, and I think there's more choice there for the customers now, and there's always somebody you can find out that, there's experts everywhere now that you can speak to, and they can recommend the products and different brands and all the rest of it.
Now you are obviously in the chanter business as well, so making pipe holders, and it seems like your chanter reeds are sort of customized to go with the pipe chanters, and maybe vice versa. Is that an important thing to have now for a reed maker / chanter maker, to be able to match up with a particular reed?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think that's been an advantage to us in developing the chanter, that we were in business producing a reed to a certain specification, consistency, pitch, and all the rest of it, based on testing that in the most popular chanters at that time. And we always made the reed. We always made the reed to go well in the most popular chanters. So before we even made a chanter, I mean, it was 4 or 5 years in before we actually even went into the chanter market. So the reed was actually quite a consistent reed. So yeah, we based the chanter on the reed. it wouldn't really make much sense to base it on someone else's read. So yeah, I would say definitely that's definitely a plus. So now we can test the chanter against the reed and the reed against the chanter kind of thing, and we've got chanters and reeds that we always go back to kind of base it off.
Right. For those people who are maybe working to break in to manipulate brand new reeds, do you have any tips for them about how to best, some general sort of rules of thumb that you might have for working with chanter reeds?
Yeah, well, it depends on your chanter, of course, but we developed I had an idea to have a kind of business card type. I've got one here actually. Business card type reed depth, recommended reed depth gauge. So we send this out with our reeds, and I think it's probably the most important thing when you're setting a reed is to get the depth of the reed correct, and also make sure that it's seated well in the reed seat. Different chanters have different bores and tapers and things on the reed seat, so you might have to add hemp, you might have to take hemp off. But we find that kind of depth that's on the gauge is the first step to getting it right. Obviously, some chanters you may have to sink it a little bit more or lift it a bit more, but if you think about how yourself, you'll be the same. When you look at it, when you sink a reed after so many years, you kind of get used to a certain height that you would like the reed to be. And I think most chanter makers would develop their chanter to be at its optimum at that height. I know that we do, so that's why we've got the depth gauge. That's the first point. But there's loads. I mean, there's loads of things you could say. That's the most important thing, is getting the reed in the correct height first of all. But then you want to get the high A and the low A balanced, and make sure that you've not got an awful lot of tape on the chanter. Of course, it depends on the chanter. It depends on the reed that you're using. But a wee squeeze now and again, you can sometimes squeeze a reed if it's a bit hard. But another key thing is I would say to order the strength of reed that you actually want to play, rather than ordering a reed that's harder than what you wanted to play and then blowing it in. I think that's a thing of the past, really. If people talk about the old Macassar reeds when they could hardly get I'm not putting the reeds down, but you could hardly get a note out of the reed at the time when you first started blowing it. But then you would blow it for 4 months, and then your pipe major would take it off you, kind of thing. But I mean, it's not really like that now. It's not like that with our reeds, and I know that some of the competitors, other reed makers, it's the same thing. You put a reed in, and it's quite instant, really. I think the quality of reed making is maybe it's probably a bit more consistent, and people's attitude towards blowing a hard reed has changed a little bit as well, because you can get just as good a sound out of an easier reed as a hard reed. In fact, it's probably a lot of time it's better, actually.
Yeah, thank goodness.
I think it's definitely a change in attitude, over the years.
Yeah. Now, for 10 years, you must have had a few milestones that you'd highlight. Are there any things that over the last 10 years that you'd say are the most important things for G1 Reeds?
Yeah, well, I think the early years, obviously, there are a lot of really good memories personally for me in the early years, because when I first started the business, it was obviously a risk, because I was in a well-paid job at the time. I had a house and things like that, and I left that just to go myself. So really, when I started getting, obviously, I was getting orders from Robert Matheson in shops and things like that, which, that really boosted the original reed that was out. And then after that came the Platinum reed, and Terry Lee at the time in SFU was a big fan. And then that, because SFU were playing it, Stuart Liddell came along, and I've been a fan of Inverary for a long time. So having Stuart Liddell and the pipe sergeant, well, it wasn't the pipe sergeant at the time, but Alistair Henderson coming in, trying reeds in here, putting them straight in the chanters, blowing up and, you know, playing Inverary tunes with harmonies and all the rest of it. But, you know, it was quite, that was quite good. Probably one of the best memories was that year, actually, 2012, when Inverary did a concert up in Aberdeen. I think it was 2012, actually. And I joined the band that winter, actually. But just sitting in the audience, hearing, that was the first time I'd sat back and heard a band full of to read, you know, the G1 Reed, and they sounded great. And I was just, you know, sitting. I had a wee beer, and I was sitting in the audience, and I was so proud at that point, you know. And obviously, there's been many other ones. Winning the Worlds with Inverary, playing the G1 Chanter as well was amazing as well. And, you know, the big Rab show concert thing that what do you call it, the thing at the Piping Centre, pre-Worlds thing that we did, that was excellent as well. But there's loads of great memories, and obviously having a great workforce here now that they're all skilled and really contribute to the business now. It's been a great 10 years so far. This year's been a bit dodgy, but so far, but, you know, it's been a great 10 years, you know.
Well, that's terrific.
Yeah.
John Elliott, really appreciate you taking the time, and congratulations on 10 years with G1 Reeds, and good luck with the next 10 years.
Thanks very much, Andrew.
All the best.
Yeah, stay safe. Cheers.